नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीर्वुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ओमज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So 1 minute. To the 80th anuccheda. अत एवाशेष पुरुषार्थ स्वरूप एवा साविति स्फुटमेवा एवाहुर्गद्येन. If we read this by splitting the sandhi, it will be like this. Ata eva ashesha purushartha swarupa eva asau iti sputameva ahuhu gadyena. So Gadya is a prose. The fifth canto, third chapter, Jiva Goswami is quoting a prose shloka, 5.3.7 and 8. Atayeva Ashesha Purushartha Swarupa. In this Gadya, the Bhagavan's form is described as the personification of all the human pursuits, of all the human goals. Ashesha Purushartha Swarupa. So the verse which is quoted, 5.3.7 and 8. Atha nayapi na bhavata yijyayor bhara bharaya samuchitam arthamihopalabhamahe atmana yevanu savana manjasa vyatirekena bobuyamana shesha purushartha swarupasya. You see the last line? Ashesha Purushartha Swarupasya. Bobuyamana Ashesha Purushartha Swarupasya. That is what is being described. In the following passage, the Ritviks, so in the king Nabi, is performing a sacrifice in order to get a son like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Lord appears in that sacrificial arena. So the Ritviks, Ritvik means the priests, they offer prayers to the Lord. And they say that the Lord is a personification of all the human attainments, Ashesha Purushartha Swarupa. So they are saying that, therefore, we do not perceive that even this grandiose worship, Ijjaya Uru Bhara Baraya, Ijjaya Uru Bhara Baraya. So even this grandiose worship, elaborate worship, serves any beneficial purpose for you. Samuchitam Artham Iha Upalabhamahe. It's not that you require this worship. You don't need any of this elaborate worship. Because by your Swarupa, by your constitutional nature, at every moment, directly and indirectly, Atmana eva anusavana anjasa vyatirekena. Anjasa vyatirekena, directly and indirectly. Anjasa and vyatirekena. And to an abundant extent, Bobuyamana, to abundant extent, you are the embodiment of the supreme goal of unlimited human pursuits. Ashesha Purushartha Swarupa. So, the Lord is the embodiment, the personal form of the Lord. Personal form of the Lord is described as the embodiment of all the human attainments, the supreme goal of unlimited human pursuits. Ashesha Purushartha Swarupa. Like in the Dhruva Maharaj prayer also, the concluding prayer of Dhruva Maharaj, Satyashishohi Bhagavam Stavapada Moolam Ashista Satyashishohi Bhagavam Stavapada Moolam Ashisthatanu Bhajata Purushartha Murte Apyeva Maria Bhagavan Paripati Deenan Vashreva Vatsakam Anugraha Katarosman. So in this shloka also, Purushartha Murte, you are the personification of all the human pursuits. So here the Ashesha Purushartha Swarupa is mentioned. Sridhar Swami's comment, Tikacha, Atmanaha Swatayeva Anusavanam Sarvada Anjasa Sakshat Bobuyamana Atishayena Bhavanto Ye Asheshaha Purusharthas Te Swarupam Yasya Paramanandasya. So the unlimited goals of human existence, which abound in and of themselves at every moment, both directly and indirectly, are the embodiment of Him, the supreme bliss. And then Jiva Goswami quotes a supporting shloka from the Chandogya Upanishad. Shrutishcha sarva kama sarva gandha sarva rasaha. Sarva kama sarva gandha sarva rasaha. So when the visarga is followed by sakara, then you don't pronounce the visarga distinctly. You pronounce the visarga like a sakara only. Sarva kama sarva gandha sarva rasaha. So sarva kama, after that visarga is there, but the visarga is followed by sakara. Therefore, the visarga is pronounced like a sakara only. Sarva kama sarva gandha sarva rasaha. Ityadau ridvigadayaha Sri Yajna Purusham. Chandogya Upanishad says that he is the embodiment of all desires. all fragrances and all the tastes. Sarva kama, sarva gandha, sarva rasaha. So after explaining the previous anuccheda, that the Lord's form, abode, attributes, associates are all manifestations of Swarupa Shakti, Jiva Goswami is concluding in this anuccheda that he is the personification of all the human pursuits. Ashesha Purushartha Swarupa. So therefore, every person in this world, whatever endeavor he is putting, ultimately a person is searching for Krishna only. Some people know it, some people don't know it. Krishna book preface. What does Prabhupada write in the Krishna book preface? I think George Harrison writes. George Harrison or Prabhupada. Everybody is looking for Krishna. Some know it, but some people don't know it. So that is why Ashesha Purushartha Swarupa. The Gita also Krishna confirms. Ye yatamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. But next line. Mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. Mama vartma anuvartante sarvashaha. Everyone follows my path in all respects. That means everybody is ultimately searching for Krishna only. But people are looking in the perverted way, in certain sense objects or sense gratification, etc. So, but the Lord has no need to seek out or follow anyone. Everybody is looking for Krishna, but the Lord is self-satisfied. He does not need to seek out somebody. Because the Lord is always complete. Om Purnamada Purnamidam. Because he is perfect in and of himself. He does not depend on anything or anyone. But as the personification of all goals, other people necessarily depend on him. This implies that he is completely transcendental and blissful in nature. So otherwise, he could neither be the personification of all goals, nor can he be independent. So it shows that he is completely transcendental, blissful. So everybody is ultimately searching for happiness or loving reciprocation. The essence of all goals is bliss or love, and Krishna is the personification of all bliss. Akila Rasamrita Murti. So everybody is looking for that taste of Bhakti Rasa, which is uninterrupted and which is ever increasing. But one is looking in the wrong direction. One is looking for that experience in trying to enjoy the Jada Vastu. So Jiva Goswami is quoting the prose passage from the prayers of King Nabi. So the King Nabi didn't have progeny. He performed a sacrifice to get a son. So Vedas prescribe different sacrifices. So the Lord was pleased with Nabi's sacrifice and appeared in the sacrificial arena. At that time, the priests are offering this prayer. Since the Lord appeared in the sacrifice, upon being satisfied, one may think that Lord derived pleasure from the sacrifice. That means he was lacking that pleasure beforehand. Now, after the sacrifice, he became satisfied. Like that one may think. But this doubt is dispelled by the priests who say that it was the king and not the Lord who had a purpose to achieve. Because the Lord simply appeared out of his causeless mercy to benefit the king. Krishna is completely independent, self-satisfied. So generally, many times, a person who is self-satisfied, he may be indifferent to others' needs. He may act in a hard-hearted way. It's like somebody, I think the French Revolution or somewhere, people were starving. They approached the queen or a king. They said, we don't have a bread to eat. And the queen or the king said that, oh, if you don't have bread, and you eat cake, like completely being indifferent to what the suffering. She was enjoying the opulences, but she acted in an indifferent way, and they became very angry, common citizens. So generally, one may think that somebody is fully satisfied may act in an indifferent way, but the Lord is not indifferent. He is not hard-hearted. So the Lord appeared in the sacrificial arena of Nabi in order to benefit King Nabi. So Chandogya Upanishad says that Sarva Kama, Sarva Gandha, Sarva Rasaha is the embodiment of all the taste, desires and fragrances. So this is another supporting statement to show that how the Lord is not incomplete. He is complete. So Sarva Kama, it does not mean that he has all the base material desires. That's not the meaning. Because Krishna says that Dharmo aviruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharata rishabha. I am that desire which is not opposed to the way of truth, which is not opposed to Dharma. So Kama is not the embodiment, Krishna is not the embodiment of desire that runs counter to the truth. So Sarva Kama, Sarva Gandha. Gandha means basically fragrance. But there are certain bad odors also and good odors also. So Sarva Gandha, does it mean that does it include all the bad odors also? One may ask. But Krishna says in the Gita, Punyo Gandha Prithivyam cha Tejaschasmi Vibhavasau Jivanam Sarvabhuteshu Tapaschasmi Tapasvishu. So Punyo Gandha Prithivyam cha. In that verse, Punya refers to beautiful. So earth has many odors. But Punyo Gandha Prithivyam cha, because the word punya adjective is used, therefore it does not refer to the bad odor or a stench. So therefore Sarva Gandha must be taken to mean all with the exception of the detestable odors. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks about his opulences in the 7th chapter, 10th chapter. So whenever he speaks about the opulences, he chooses the best object among that category, among the aquatics, among the mountains. So actually his taste, desire, fragrance and so on are all transcendental. As far as the Lord is concerned, even the good qualities in this material world have defects. Otherwise, he would be the personification of all the good material qualities. So even the so-called good qualities in the material world, they have defects actually. From the point of view of the human being, he may like a pineapple butter halwa. He may be attracted by the pineapple butter halwa taste. But the pig may be attracted by the stool's fragrance. So when we talk about Krishna, the Sarva Kama, Sarva Gandha, Sarva Rasa, it refers to the transcendental fragrances, transcendental taste. So as far as the Lord is concerned, even the good qualities in the material world have defects. So otherwise, he would be the personification of all the good material qualities. But that would contradict the statement of the priest that he is the personification of all the goals. So material good qualities are not absolute in nature. It was earlier explained that the Lord's qualities are all transcendental, but the Lord's qualities are absolute, which means that they are satisfactory to all beings, humans as well as the pigs. So Sarva Kama, Sarva Gandha, Sarva Rasa, it shows that how Krishna is, again it is confirming the same Bhagavatam. Ashesha Purushartha Swarupa. Krishna is the personification of all the human pursuits. And Krishna is not lacking in anything. He is independent, he is completely blissful. Now in the next anuccheda, Jiva Goswami will once again explain that the absolute truth manifests in three ways. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Of course, the next anucheda he will specifically focus on Brahman and Bhagavan, and out of them he will explain that how Bhagavan is the most complete manifestation. So now he is going to say in the next anucheda he is going to take verses from the first canto. So any questions on this 80th one?
No, Prabhuji. Thank you.
So 81st. Tadevam Brahmanopi Yat Shri Bhagavati Prakasha Samyaktvam Vyanjitam Tat Purvameva Vidvad Anubhava Vachana Prachayena Siddhamapi Visheshato Vicharyate. So, in this way, even though it has been clearly shown with multiple references to the testimony of the realized sages, Purvameva Vidvad Anubhava Vachana Prachayena, the testimony of the realized sages, that the most complete manifestation of Brahman is in Bhagavan. This matter shall here be considered again in further detail. It was already explained by the experience of the four Kumaras that the most complete manifestation is Bhagavan. But now Jiva Goswami is again discussing this. Tatraikameva Tattvam Dvida Shabdyata iti na vastuno beda upapadyate. So here in this anucheta he will not consider the Paramatma, Brahman and Bhagavan he will take. Tatraikameva tattvam dvida shabdyata iti na vastuno beda upapadyate. So the one absolute truth is described in two ways. But there is no difference in its essence. Even though a difference exists, not only in name but in appearance also. Dvida shabdyate iti na vastuno beda upapadyate. Avirbhavasyapi beda darshanat. Nacha sanyamatrasya kintu swasva darshanayogyata bedena dvividodikari dvida drishtum tadupasta iti. So, however, two types of eligible seekers, according to their individual perceptual abilities, see the one absolute truth in these two ways and worship that absolute truth accordingly. One is the formless absolute truth, the Brahman. Another is the absolute truth with the form, that is the Bhagavan. So, tatrap ekasya darshanasya vastavattvamanyasya brahmajattvamiti na mantavyam. Brahmajattvamiti na mantavyam. Ubayorapi yatartyena darshitatvat. So, one should not misconstrue that the realization of one is factual while the other is delusive. It's not that those who realize Bhagavan, that is factual. Those who realize Brahman is illusory. No. Both the realization is factual only. The realization of Bhagavan and realization of Brahman both are factual only. Because the reality of both manifestations has been established. Both are real manifestation, Brahman and Bhagavan. न चैकस्य वस्तुनः शक्त्या विक्रियमाणांशकत्वादंशतो भेदः विकृतत्व निषेधात् तयोः. Nor is it that there is a partial difference due to one substantive being partially transformed by its own energy. Since neither Brahman nor Bhagavan can undergo transformation. You cannot say that, okay, Brahman is the pure one, Bhagavan is nothing but the Brahman which is transformed by the Upadhis, it has become Bhagavan. That is also not true. Because neither Brahman can undergo transformation nor Bhagavan can undergo transformation. Neither Brahman nor Bhagavan can undergo transformation. And then further, Tasmad दृष्टेरसम्य शम्यक्त्वात् सत्यपि सम्यक्त्वे तदननुसन्धानाद्वा एकस्मिन्नधिकारिण्येकदेशेन स्फुरदेको भेदः परस्मिन्नखण्डतया द्वितीयो भेदः. One should not misconstrue. Therefore, either due to the completeness or incompleteness of the vision, or in the case where vision is complete, but the person does not search out a specific manifestation of the Lord, but does not search out a specific, there will be a difference, and one candidate will see a partial manifestation, whereas another will see the complete undivided manifestation. These are the two different manifestations of the one absolute. So therefore, either due to the completeness or incompleteness of vision, or in the case where vision is complete, but the person does not search out a specific, there will be a difference. And one candidate will see a partial manifestation, whereas another will see the complete undivided manifestation. These are the two different manifestations of the one absolute. So the person who realizes the Brahman, he actually will see the will realize the partial manifestation of the absolute truth. The person who realizes the Bhagavan will realize the complete manifestation of the absolute truth. Further, evam sati yatra vishesham vinaiva vastunah spurtihi sa drishti rasampurna yata brahmakarena. So, this being the case, when the substantive appears without attributes, that is the Brahman feature, that vision is incomplete, as when it appears in the form of the Brahman. And then, yatra swarupa bhuta nana vaichitri vishesha vadakarena sa sampurna yata Shri Bhagavadake akarena iti labhyate. And when that substantive, that the absolute truth, manifests in a form with attributes that demonstrate the varieties inherent in its essential nature, then that vision is complete, as when it appears in the form of the Bhagavan. So, tad etat abhipretya pratamam drishti taratamyena tad abhivyakti taratamyam tan purana avirbhava karanabhyam prashnottarabhyam pratipadyate shadbihi. So 6 shlokas are quoted. From which section? From that section which discusses about the reason for the appearance of Srimad Bhagavatam. What is the reason for the appearance of the Srimad Bhagavatam? That is the Vyasadev's dissatisfaction after writing all the Vedic literatures. At that time, Vyasadeva approaches Narada Muni. So from that section, Tan Mahapurana Avirbhava Karanabhyam Prashnottarabhyam. In that prasanga, there is a question and answer between Vedavyasa and Narada. So from that section, 6 shlokas are quoted, Shadbihi, in order to describe what? Tadetat abhipretya pratamam drishti taratamyena. So with this intention, it will first be established that the absolute truth manifests in accordance with the vision of the aspiring practitioner. Using 6 verses that contain questions and answers regarding the appearance of the great Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam. So, commentary. So, Jiva Goswami analyzed the experience of the 4 Kumaras and proved that the Bhagavan is the complete manifestation of the absolute truth, which includes the realization of Brahman and which is superior to the realization of Brahman. Jiva Goswami clearly proved that. But he is further fortifying his conclusion. This is called as a Stuna Nikanna Nyaya. Already we discussed in such great detail the Kumara's experience. After explaining that in so much detail, but still one may think that why do we need to again take up the same subject? Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. We already discussed enough. But this is called a Stuna Nikanna Nyaya. That means the logic of driving in a post. So when you want to actually put a post in the ground, you first one must, to drive a post or peg into the ground, one must hammer it again and again. The more it is hammered, the more firmly it stands. So similarly, in order to very strongly establish this conclusion that Bhagavan's realization is superior, it is inclusive and superior to the Brahman realization, Jiva Goswami is again is fortifying this conclusion by different references. So because the Brahman doctrine was very prominent at the time of the Shad Sandarbhas were written, Jiva Goswami endeavors meticulously to establish that Bhagavan as a complete absolute. So I was discussing with some months back, I met one person, pious person, Brahmana, but he was saying that when you talk about Krishna, Ram and all, these names are known only to the people in India. What about somebody in Croatia or Russia or some Ethiopia? They will not be able to relate to these names only. So he was basically trying to say that the idea of the impersonal absolute, the formless absolute, that will be relatable to everyone in all countries, irrespective of which background a person comes from. But the names of Krishna, Ram and all, they'll be relatable only to people in a particular background, coming from a particular background. So he was basically trying to advocate the Advaitavad philosophy. So when we see, people think that only the impersonal idea of the absolute truth will be universally applicable, universally be relatable to everyone. Absolute truth to the personal form will not be relatable to everyone. Like that one may argue. But if you think about the definition of Bhagavan, we discussed in the very beginning of the Bhagavad Sandarbha. Aishwaryasya samagrasya Viryasya yashasa shriyaha jnana vairogyayoschaiva shannam bhaga itingana. Bhagavan is one who is filled with the 6 opulences. So in this world, irrespective of whichever background a person comes from, irrespective of whichever country, caste or language or creed, everybody is attracted to a person having one of these 6 opulences. This is the universal truth. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya shasashya. And the Bhagavan is described as somebody who has the 6 opulences in a complete way, in a complete form. So the concept of Bhagavan, the definition of Bhagavan, one who has the 6 opulences in a complete way, this is a universal concept. Nobody can say that, because everybody in this world, with whichever background, everybody is attracted to a person with any of these, one of these opulences. Even to some degree, a person has one is attracted to that. So Bhagavan, the definition of Bhagavan is somebody who has the 6 opulences in a complete manner. And the specific name of that Bhagavan is Krishna. So one may say, then how can you give a specific name to Krishna, Bhagavan? Your generic name, God. No, the specific name of that Bhagavan who possessed the 6 opulences in a complete manner, who exhibited the 6 opulences in a complete manner, is Krishna. And Prabhupada gave a simple argument. He said, we are proposing that Krishna is that Bhagavan, based on our evidence what we have from the Vedic literatures, who exhibited the 6 opulences in a complete manner. If you have a person who is better than Krishna, who exhibited his opulences in a more complete way than Krishna, you propose that candidate, we are ready to accept that candidate. Prabhupada is open to that. But if you are unable to propose, then you have to accept our candidate. Just like in an election, if only one person has actually applied to stand in the election in a particular constituency, then that person is elected unopposed. If nobody else is applied for, nobody else has applied for that standing in that election, only one person has applied, then even according to the rules of this world, that person will be elected unopposed, without even the election. So Prabhupada said that we are proposing that person who exhibited the 6 opulences in a complete way is Krishna. If you have some other person, you can propose it. Otherwise, you have to accept our candidate. So the point is that people think that only the impersonal idea of the absolute truth will be universally relatable to everyone. But the personal idea is equally relatable. In fact, more attractive to everyone. So Jiva Goswami wants to leave no room for doubt in the mind of his reader. So the more firmly he establishes the transcendental and non-dual nature of Bhagavan, the weaker becomes the Brahmavadi's inherently limiting claim that the absolute must be without variety or distinction in order to preserve its non-duality. Such a position obliges the absolute to conform to conventional laws of rationality and thus totally fails to accommodate the possibility of transcendental variety. So Bhagavan is inclusive of such transcendental variety without in any way compromising his non-dual essence. And the fact that he does so is beyond logic. So in this Anuccheda, Jiva Prabhu again explained the concept of Advaya Tattva, the non-dual reality. In Tattva Sandarbha, he concluded that this Advaya Tattva is the subject of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the first section of this Bhagavad Sandarbha, he began by saying that one absolute reality manifests in three ways: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, according to the qualification of the worshipper. Now, Jiva discusses the absolute in reference to Brahman and Bhagavan in this Anuccheda. He is not discussing Paramatma. Earlier, he said that if Bhagavan is understood, being the more inclusive reality, then Brahman is automatically revealed. See Anuccheda 7. This does not imply the converse. That means, however, that Brahman realization is the same as knowing Bhagavan. So, Bhagavan realization includes Brahman realization, but not the other way. So, both are distinct, and the difference is not in name only, but in the way the absolute appears to the worshipper. Furthermore, it is not the realization of one aspect is factual and the other is imaginary. No, both are factual realization only. When the Kumaras saw the Lord in Vaikuntha, they did not conclude that the Brahman was unreal. The Brahman realization was also real, and the Bhagavan realization is also real. They understood that the Brahman was of the nature of Bhagavan, and the devotional service to him resulted in a more complete realization of the Absolute. It is also incorrect to think that one manifestation of the Absolute is a transformation or effect of one of the other manifestations. It's not that Bhagavan is a Brahman which has got transformed into Bhagavan. In other words, it is not that Bhagavan transforms into Brahman or Brahman transforms into Bhagavan. Both are the one absolute reality and are not subject to change. The difference lies in the vision of the experiencer. When reality manifests without attributes, it is called Brahman, and one who realizes this aspect as ultimate reality has incomplete realization. When the absolute manifests with attributes is called Bhagavan, and one who realizes them in this way has complete realization. That means Bhagavan realization is the superset and Brahman realization is a subset. Or it's like a sun and sunshine. Brahman realization is like a sunshine, Bhagavan is a sun. One who can see the only the rays of sunshine coming in through the window as a partial realization of the sun. One who sees the sun orbit, however, automatically sees the sunshine as well. His realization is more complete. So, we'll just begin. First shloka. Shloka ami bahubihi sammishra apya vistarattvaya jatityartha pratyaya cha sankhipyaiva samudritaha. So, although many verses are interspersed among the 6 that will be quoted in this section, for the sake of brevity and quick comprehension, only these have been cited. So, the 6 verses are quoted in this section, but these 6 verses are not sequential verses. They are not sequential verses. But the 6 verses are from the same section, 1st canto, 5th chapter. So there are many verses which are between these 6 verses, but for the sake of brevity, only certain 6 verses are chosen and quoted. The first verse which is quoted is 1.5.4. Narada is asking Vyasadeva. Shri Narada Uvacha Jignasitamadhitam cha Brahma yattat sanatanam Tathapi shochasyatmanam akritartha iva prabho. So Narada is asking Vyasadeva, Jignasitam, you have fully inquired into and aditam and studied the Brahman, the eternal Brahman. Tathapi, still, shochasyatmanam akritartha iva prabho. But still, you lament for yourself as though you are a failure. Akritartha iva prabho. Although you have fully inquired into the impersonal Brahman, studied the impersonal Brahman, but still you are feeling incomplete. You are lamenting as if you are a failure. Sridhar Swami's comment. Kramenartho yata jignasitam iti. Tika cha. Yat sanatanam nityam param brahma tacca tvaya jignasitam vicharitam adhitam adhigatam praptam chetyartah. Tatapi shochasi tat kimartam iti sheshah. You have to add, why do you lament? What is the reason? You have completely studied and inquired into the Brahman, but still you are lamenting as if you are a failure. Kimartam. Why? That should be added. You have inquired into and deliberated upon the Parabrahman, which is eternal, and you have studied it, meaning that you have understood and realized it. Yet you lament. In order to complete the sense of the verse, one has to infer that Narada is asking the question, why do you lament? So this question itself shows that how the Brahman realization is not complete. Because even after Brahman realization, Vyasadeva felt incompleteness. He felt dissatisfied. He did not feel complete satisfaction. So to prove the gradations exist in the realization of absolute truth, Jiva Goswami alludes the appearance of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sutta Goswami explained to Shaunaka Rishi, after compiling the 4 Vedas and composing the Puranas, he is giving the background. After Vyasadeva compiled the 4 Vedas, wrote the Mahabharata, Vedanta Sutra, still Vyasa was not satisfied. He had realized the Brahman and explained it in the Brahma Sutra. Still, he was filled with lamentation. And he admitted to Narada Muni. That despite compiling Mahabharata for the welfare of those who are not eligible to study the Vedas, he felt as though he had something left to accomplish. So Narada Muni asked him the cause of his dejection. So this question itself indicates that Brahman realization is not the ultimate in transcendence and does not offer the highest fulfillment. This question itself indicates that. So Narada is addressing Vyasa as Prabhu in recognition of his achievements. In spite of this, the fact that he felt unfulfilled indicates that Brahman realization is incomplete in comparison to that of Bhagavan. So we'll take this shloka also. Then the next shloka. 6 shlokas he is taking. First is 1.5.4. Next is 1.5.7. So this is the Vyasadev's question to Narada Muni. Tvam paryatanarka iva trilokim antascharo vayurivatma sakshi paravare brahmani dharmato vratais snatasya me nyunamalam vichakshva. So Vyasadeva is saying that wandering throughout the 3 worlds like the sun, Tvam Paryatan Arka Trivat Arka, and pervading within like the vital breath, you are the witness of all the Atmas. So please assess the deficiency in me. Despite my being immersed through yogic discipline and vow in transcendental Brahman, and the immanent Brahman in the form of the Veda. Paravare Brahmani, Para Brahmani, Avare Brahmani. Although I explained in great detail the impersonal Brahman and the Paramatma, the transcendental Brahman and the immanent Brahman in the form of the Veda, but still I am feeling a deficiency. Please tell me the root cause of dissatisfaction. So the explanation of the shloka, Tvam iti. Tvam arkat trilokim paryatan. Tvam arka iva, like the sun, trilokim paryatan. You travel all the three worlds. Tata Vaishnava yoga balamshena cha pranavayuriva sarva praninam antascharaha sanatmanam sarveshameva sakshi bahirantar vrittignah. So you are like the sun wandering through the three worlds, and also on the partial strength of your performance of Vaishnava Yoga, you are like the vital breath moving in the interiority of all living beings. And thus you are the witness of all selves, the knower of their external and internal states. Atap pare brahmani dharmato yogena nishnatasya. So I have been fully immersed in the transcendental Brahman through abidance in truth, which is to say, through the practice of yoga. As sage Yajnavalkya says, Taduktam Yajnavalkena Yajyacharadaya Simha Dana Swadhyaya Karmanam Ayam Paramo Labho Yadyogenatma Darshanam. From the Yajnavalkya Smriti, the supreme benefit of practices like worship, virtuous behavior, mercy, non-violence, charity, and study of scriptures is that one directly apprehends the self by the power of yoga. So Vyasadeva practiced all these things perfectly, but still he felt a dissatisfaction. So avarecha brahmani vedakye vrataihi swadhyaya niyamair nishnatasyapi me alam ityartam yan nyunam tat swayameva vichakshva vitarkaya. So through vows such as the study of the scriptures, I have also become fully immersed in the immanent Brahman. Avare Brahmani means immanent Brahman, known as the Veda. Immanent Brahman here refers to Veda. Even so, I feel a great deficiency within. Please assess what it is. Why? What the cause of my dissatisfaction? So, and then the next, so two shlokas we will discuss, and then next shloka onwards we will discuss from next week. So, any questions on this?
No, Prabhu, no questions.
Okay. So, we are slowly progressing towards we are in 81st anuccheda, 102. Maybe let us see in another 10 classes or 15 classes. Okay, we'll end here. There are no questions. ग्रंथरा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रील जीव गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय.
Prabhuji, you can off the recording.
हाँ, yes.